When I first saw my fiancé's ex-girlfriend's name on the seating chart, written in delicate gold calligraphy under the words Guest of Honor, I thought our wedding planner had made a mistake. Then I saw my fiancé's handwriting on the little card. Lauren, Guest of Honor, front row, center. And I realized the mistake was mine. I should have called off the wedding the moment I said, "Who the hell is the guest of honor?" And he smiled like it was cute that I was jealous. Instead, I waited. I waited until the day of the wedding, in front of 130 guests, to fix the mistake properly. By stepping aside at the altar and inviting his ex to stand where I was supposed to. My name is Rachel. I'm 27 from North Carolina, and I used to think I was the chill, modern kind of fiancé. You know the type. I'm not threatened by exes. I'm secure. I trust my man. That was me. Or at least it was the version of me I tried very hard to be around Ryan. Ryan and I met 4 years ago at a friend's game night. He was the funny one. The guy who made losing at charades feel like winning because he'd do ridiculous impressions and make everyone laugh. He was also handsome in that clean-cut, boy-next-door way that makes moms instantly approve. Dark hair, soft brown eyes, nice smile, steady job at an insurance company. On our second date, he told me about his one big heartbreak. Her name was Lauren. She was my first serious relationship, he said, staring into his beer like it was a crystal ball. We dated for 3 years. I thought we were going to get married. Then she moved to Boston for grad school and said she needed space. I was wrecked. I'm sorry, I said, feeling a little twist in my stomach. She's happily engaged now, he added quickly. We're cool. We talk sometimes. I've grown a lot since then. That phrase "we're cool" would come back to haunt me. At the time it sounded like maturity. Who wants to marry someone who trashes all their exes, right? I told myself it was a green flag that he could be friends with his past. That meant he was emotionally healthy. Secure. I ignored the way he occasionally referred to what Lauren taught me about love like she was some sort of romantic professor, and he was still taking notes. I ignored the way he sometimes compared little things I did, how I folded my laundry, how I liked my coffee, to how Lauren used to do it. It wasn't malicious. Just constant. Most of the time, I could roll my eyes and move on. I was the one he was with now. The one he bought a couch with, adopted a dog with, signed a lease with. When he proposed on our 3rd anniversary picnic, fairy lights, the whole rom-com scene, I said yes without hesitation. I had no idea I'd be handing my future to a man who still saw himself as the main character in a love story that had ended years ago. The first small red flag in wedding planning came with the guest list. We were at the kitchen table, laptops open, wine glasses half full, arguing about coworkers when his phone buzzed. He glanced at it, smiled in a way I recognized, and typed back quickly. "Who's that?" I asked lightly. "Lauren," he said. "She sent a meme about married life. Says congrats." He turned the phone to show me. Sure enough, it was a harmless joke about wedding planning. Underneath, in little gray text bubbles, I saw older messages. "Lauren, can you believe you're actually getting married? Loudly crying face, so happy for you. Ryan, still feels weird after everything we went through, lol. I shouldn't have, but I scrolled up a tiny bit farther. Ryan, you'll always be my first love though." My stomach flipped. He saw my face and quickly pulled the phone back. "It's not like that," he said. "We're just reminiscing. It's nostalgia." "You told her she'd always be your first love," I said quietly. "While you're engaged to me." "She was my first love," he said. "That's just a fact. You're my fiancé. You're the one I'm marrying. Don't make this into a thing." I swallowed. I don't like feeling like I'm competing with a ghost," I said. He sighed, kissed my forehead. "You're not," he said. "Ghosts can't compete with real life." It sounded poetic. I let it go. That was my mistake number 1. Fast forward 6 months. Venue booked. Dress altered. DJ paid. We were at our final meeting with the wedding planner, a very organized woman named Christine who carried 3 clipboards at all times. She spread the seating chart out on her office table. "Okay," she said. "Here's what we have so far. Immediate family in the first 2 rows. Then wedding party, then extended family and friends. You can adjust as needed." Tiny cards with people's names were stuck to a big foam board. My eyes scanned the rows. Mom, Dad, my grandparents, then guest of honor Lauren Brooks. Front row. Center seat. I blinked. Chris? I said. I think there's a mistake. Who's the guest of honor supposed to be? She smiled at Ryan. That's what he called her on the form, she said. His close friend who's flying in from Boston. He said she was important to his story, and he wanted to recognize that. My head snapped toward him. Ryan, I said slowly. What is this? He had the decency to look a little sheepish. I meant to talk to you about it, he said. I thought it would be a nice gesture. You know, honoring the past that led me to you. By putting your ex in the front row as a guest of honor? I said. At our wedding? She's not just my ex, he said quickly. She's formative. She helped shape who I am. Our story wouldn't exist without hers. Christine, sensing imminent emotional disaster, suddenly remembered she had to go check something with the caterer and left us alone. Ryan, I said, trying to keep my voice level, do you hear how insane that sounds? He rolled his eyes. Come on, wretch, he said. Don't be insecure. You know I love you. I just want to show I'm not one of those guys who pretends his history doesn't exist. Lauren is part of my journey. I'm part of your journey, I said. Your fiancé. Your future wife. And this is our day, not some TED talk about your romantic development. He sighed like I was missing the point. She already booked her flight, he said. I told her she'd have a special seat. I can't just uninvite her or stick her in the back row like some random coworker. That would be rude. I stared at him. You didn't think it might be rude to your fiancé to do all of this without asking her first? I asked. She's just coming as a friend, he insisted. And we dated years ago. You're seriously making a big deal out of nothing. I felt that familiar trap closing around me. If I pushed back harder, I'd be jealous, controlling, crazy. If I let it slide, I'd be the cool girl who goes along with everything while quietly bleeding inside. In the end, I chose a third option. I pretended to let it slide. Fine, I said, forcing a smile. If she's just a friend, then cool. Invite whoever you want. His shoulders relaxed. He smiled, relieved. I knew you'd understand, he said, pulling me into a hug. Behind his back, my eyes rested on the little guest of honor card. I didn't move it. Not yet. From that day on, I paid attention. To his phone, which now lit up with Lauren more often. To his sudden renewed interest in the gym because she's a runner now and inspired me. To the way her name slipped into every other conversation. Lauren says the best man speeches at her wedding were so hilarious. Lauren thinks this DJ is overcharging us. Lauren's fiancé is super chill about their exes still being friends, you know. One night, when he was in the shower, his phone buzzed on the nightstand. I stared at it for a full 30 seconds before giving in and picking it up. Snooping is bad. So is marrying someone who might still be in love with someone else. The preview showed part of a message. Lauren, sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't left. My throat tightened. I opened the thread. The chat history went back months. At first it was casual. Memes. How's work? Look at this ugly lamp my landlord bought. Then, slowly, it got deeper. Lauren, remember that week we just drove with no destination? Ryan, best week of my life. Lauren, my fiancé is nice, but we never do spontaneous stuff like that. Ryan, you and I were always fire. Fire, there were late-night messages. Ryan, I still dream about you sometimes. Lauren, don't tell your bride that, lol. And the one that made my blood go cold. Ryan, if things were different, you know it would have been you at the altar, right? Lauren, yeah. But you're happy now. That's what matters. Ryan, I'm content. That's different. You were my wild love. Rachel is my safe harbor. Safe harbor. Like I was a boring boat dock he could park in when he was done chasing storms. There were no nudes. No explicit I want you back. But the emotional cheating was loud enough to drown out the wedding bells. I put the phone down and sat there in the half-dark, my engagement ring suddenly feeling like a shackle. I could have gone full confrontation right then. Screamed. Thrown the ring. Called off the wedding 6 weeks before the date. Part of me wanted to. But then another part of me, the quieter, colder, more strategic part, thought, if I walk away now, he gets to play the victim. The poor guy whose crazy fiancé bailed because she couldn't handle his friendship with an ex. Nobody will know what he's really like. And an idea started forming. What if I didn't walk away quietly? What if I let the wedding happen? Just enough to give him the audience he clearly craved. What if I gave him exactly what he said he wanted? A wedding with Lauren at the center of his story. Step 1 was information. I needed to know exactly what kind of friendship he and Lauren had now. Was she in on this fantasy? Did she know he was still half in love with her? Or was she just humoring an old boyfriend she thought was harmless? I decided to find out. I messaged her. We were Facebook friends barely from some group photo Ryan had posted of all of us at a barbecue. "Hey Lauren," I wrote. "I know we've never really talked one-on-one, but Ryan mentioned you a lot and I thought it would be nice to grab coffee when you're in town for the wedding, if you're up for it." She replied 5 minutes later. "OMG hi. I'd actually love that. I've been wanting to meet you properly. Ryan says you're amazing." We set a time for the weekend before the wedding. She'd be in town early to help Ryan with some stuff. That phrasing already annoyed me. Helping my fiancé with stuff for a wedding she didn't belong in. I picked a neutral coffee shop downtown. When she walked in, I recognized her immediately. Tall. Effortlessly stylish. That kind of cool, confident energy that made it obvious why 20-year-old Ryan thought she hung the moon. "Rachel?" she said, waving. I stood and we hugged awkwardly. "Thanks for meeting me," I said. "I know you're busy." She laughed. "Please," she said. "Anything to get a break from talking about centerpieces with my own fiancé. Wedding brain is real." We grabbed drinks and sat. For the first 10 minutes, it was small talk. Work. The weather. Our shared hatred of seating charts. Then I decided to stop dancing around it. "So," I said, trying to sound casual, "Ryan mentioned you're our guest of honor. That's quite a title." She blushed. "Oh my God, he told you that?" she said. "I thought he was kidding when he wrote that on the RSVP. I literally texted him like, 'Dude, your fiancé is going to hate me.' He didn't tell me he'd done it," I said. "I found out at the planner's office." Her face fell. "I'm so sorry," she said. "That's not okay. I told him to run anything like that by you because I didn't want to overstep. Did he run anything else by you?" I asked. She hesitated. "Like, what?" she said. "Like the part where he told you if things were different, it would have been you at the altar." I said evenly. "Or the part where he called me his safe harbor and you his wild love." Her eyes widened. "You saw the messages," she said. "Yes," I said. "A few nights ago." She stared into her coffee. "For what it's worth," she said quietly, "I shut that down. I told him he needed to focus on you. I even suggested he show you messages so there were no secrets. He said you were too sensitive, and it would just cause drama." I laughed bitterly. "Of course," I said. "Can't have the bride knowing her groom still fantasizes about Plan A." She winced. "I swear, I didn't come here to stir anything up," she said. "I love my fiancé. I'm not trying to steal yours. I honestly thought Ryan just needed closure, and we could be nostalgic friends. Do you still have feelings for him?" I asked. She thought about it. "Not the way I used to," she said. "What we had was intense, but it was also messy. I left for a reason. Sometimes I miss the idea of us, but then I remember the reality. My fiancé is solid, safe, boring in the best way." That damned word again. "Does he know half the stuff Ryan said to you?" I asked. "Some," she admitted. "I've shown him a few messages. He just rolls his eyes and says Ryan needs therapy. Honestly, I didn't realize it was this bad." We sat in silence for a moment. "I'm sorry," she said again. "Truly. You don't deserve this." "No," I agreed. "I don't." "So, what are you going to do?" she asked softly. That was the moment. I could have told her I was calling off the wedding. I could have asked her not to come. Instead, I said, "Can I ask you a weird favor?" She looked wary but curious. "Depends how weird," she said. I took a deep breath. "Will you still come to the wedding?" I said, "and let me use your presence to show everyone who Ryan really is?" Her eyebrows shot up. "What do you mean?" she said. I outlined my plan. By the time I finished, she was staring at me like she'd just seen the season finale of a drama and needed to process. "That's savage," she said, "and kind of brilliant. I won't do anything that blindsides you," I said. "You'll know exactly what's happening. I'm not out to humiliate you." Just him. She leaned back in her chair. You realize if we do this, she said, there's no going back. You won't be able to unblow this up. I know, I said. He already blew up my trust. I'm just rearranging the debris into a shape everyone can see. She studied me for a long moment. Then she nodded. Okay, she said. I'm in. The wedding day dawned bright and obnoxiously perfect. Blue sky. Soft breeze. Birds doing their Disney thing. I woke up in the bridal suite at the venue, surrounded by my bridesmaids, all of them buzzing with excitement and hairspray fumes. Today's the day. My friend Naomi squealed. You're getting married. I smiled into my coffee. Something like that, I said. I'd told exactly 2 people about the plan besides Lauren. My maid of honor, Naomi, and my older brother, Ethan. Naomi because she was physically going to be standing next to me at the altar and deserved not to be blindsided. Ethan because he'd always been the one to pick me up when I fell. I wanted him ready in case I needed an escape driver. They'd both tried, gently, to talk me into calling everything off quietly instead. You don't owe him a show, Ethan had said. I know, I'd replied. But if I just vanish, he gets to control the story. He'll tell everyone I freaked out or couldn't handle commitment. I want the truth out there. Naomi had sighed and hugged me. Fine, she'd said. If you're going to drop a nuke, at least let me help you aim it. So here we were. Hair, done. Makeup, flawless. Dress, zipped. I looked in the mirror at the woman in white. She looked calm. Almost serene. She did not look like someone about to commit social arson. Are you sure? Naomi whispered as the coordinator called us to line up. No, I whispered back. But I'm more sure about this than I am about marrying him. She squeezed my hand. That's all that matters, she said. The ceremony was set up in the venue's garden, under a flower-draped arch. Chairs in neat rows, fairy lights overhead, a string quartet playing some acoustic version of a pop song. Guests turned as my bridesmaids walked down the aisle. Phones came out. People smiled, some wiping away early tears. I took my dad's arm. You look beautiful, he whispered. I'm so proud of you. I swallowed. Thanks, Dad, I said. No matter what happens out there. Thanks. He frowned slightly at my wording, but the coordinator was already waving us forward. The music swelled. We walked. At the front, I saw Ryan. Navy suit, nervous smile, hands clasped. He looked happy. Or at least pleased with himself. Our eyes met. He mouthed, "Wow." I tried not to roll mine. Then I saw her. Lauren. Front row, center seat, right where the guest of honor card had promised. She wore a simple blue dress, nothing flashy. Her face was composed, but I could see the tension in her jaw. Next to her sat her fiancé, Mark, solid-looking guy in a gray suit, expression carefully neutral. As I passed, our eyes met briefly. She gave me the tiniest nod. Showtime. The officiant began the usual script. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today. Friends and family. Commitment. Love is patient, love is kind. I barely heard it. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my fingertips. We exchanged the pre-written generic vows. To have and to hold in sickness and in health. When it was his turn, Ryan went off script a little. Rachel, he said, voice shaking just the right amount for maximum sincerity. You are my best friend, my safe place, my future. You balance me, you make me better. Safe place. There it was again. A few guests dabbed at their eyes. My mom sniffled. Then it was my turn. I took a breath. Ryan, I began, when we met, I thought you were the most honest person I'd ever known. He smiled. I continued. I loved that you talked openly about your past, I said. About how your first big heartbreak shaped you. How your ex, Lauren, helped you grow. A murmur rippled through the guests. Ryan's smile tightened. I thought that kind of honesty meant we had a strong foundation, I said. I thought it meant there were no ghosts in this relationship. Just 2 people, fully here, choosing each other. I looked out at the crowd. At my parents. At his. At Lauren, whose eyes were wide now. But then I said, my voice steady, I found out that while we were planning this wedding, the man I love was texting another woman late at night, telling her she'd always be his first love, saying that if things were different, it would be her at this altar today. The crowd collectively inhaled. Someone in the back whispered, "Oh my God." Ryan's face went sheet white. "Rachel," he said quickly, "what are you doing?" I held up a hand. "I'm almost done," I said. I turned more fully toward the guests. "Before I promise anything in front of all of you," I said, "I need you to know who I'd be promising it to. A man who called me his safe harbor while telling another woman she was his wild love. A man who invited his ex here as his guest of honor without asking me, then told her he wished it were her at the altar." Gasps. Murmurs. Someone dropped a program. Ryan reached for my hand. "Stop," he hissed under his breath. "We can talk about this later." "No," I said loudly enough for the microphone to catch. "We should talk about it now. With the person you said should have been here instead of me." I looked straight at Lauren. "Lauren," I said, "would you mind joining us up here for a moment?" Every head in the garden swiveled toward her. She froze. Then, slowly, she stood. Her fiancé, Mark, squeezed her hand and let go. She walked up the steps, heels clicking, face pale but composed. She came to stand on my right, opposite Ryan. For the first time, all three of us were at the altar together. I felt weirdly calm. "Ryan," I said, "you told Lauren she should have been the one up here. You told her I was the safe choice. So I'm giving you what you said you wanted." I stepped aside. Physically. I took one small step to the left and gestured to my now empty spot in front of the officiant. "Here," I said to Lauren. "My place at the altar." Just like he imagined. The silence was so thick you could have cut it with the cake knife. Lauren stared at me. Then she looked at Ryan. "Is that true?" she asked quietly, microphone picking it up. He laughed, high-pitched and panicked. "She's twisting things," he said. "We were just joking around. It was closure. Rach, baby, come back here." He reached for my arm. Lauren's jaw tightened. She turned, fully facing the guests. "For the record," she said, voice shaking but clear, "I love my fiancé. I'm not here to steal anyone. I came because I believed Ryan when he said you two were solid, and he just wanted his past and present to coexist." She looked back at him, disgust written all over her face. "But seeing this," she said, "hearing what you actually said, nah, I don't want any part of your fantasy." She took off the little corsage my mom had given her and dropped it at his feet. "I'm not your wild love," she said. "I'm just glad I got out when I did." She stepped down from the altar and walked back to her seat. Mark stood, wrapped an arm around her, and glared at Ryan. A low buzz of whispers rolled through the crowd. Ryan looked like he might pass out. "Can we take a break?" the officiant whispered meekly, microphone still on. "No," I said. "We're done." I turned back to Ryan. "For what it's worth," I said quietly enough that only the front rows could hear, "I did love you. Enough to want to spend my life with you. But I'm not going to start that life knowing I was your second choice. Or your safe option. I deserve to be someone's first wild and safe love all in one." His eyes were wet now. "Rachel, please," he said. "We can fix this. Don't do this in front of everyone." "You already did," I said. "I'm just ending it in front of everyone too." I took off my engagement ring. My fingers felt light and strangely naked. I held it for a second, then placed it gently on the podium next to the officiant's notes. Then I turned to the crowd and did something I'd only seen in movies. I curtsied. "I'm so sorry to all of you who traveled, dressed up, and brought gifts," I said. "There will still be food and music. Please enjoy the party. Consider it a celebration that I dodged a bullet." A few people actually laughed, nervous and relieved. I walked down the steps, bouquet still in my hand, dress swishing. Naomi fell into step beside me. "Let's go," she whispered, "before your mom tries to tackle you." We walked down the aisle together. As I passed the front row, I paused. "Thank you," I said to Lauren and Mark. Lauren grabbed my hand. "Thank you," she said, "for not letting him keep doing this." I kept walking. Halfway down, my brother Ethan stepped into the aisle, eyes shining. "Want a ride, kiddo?" he said softly. I nodded. We kept going. Some guests looked horrified. Others looked impressed. A few gave tiny nods of support. At the back I heard raised voices. Ryan's mom crying. My mom saying my name like a curse. Someone, probably the coordinator, trying to take the mic away from the officiant, who was now frantically telling everyone there'd be a brief intermission. I didn't stay to watch the fallout. I stepped into the building, kicked off my heels, scooped up my skirt, and followed Ethan to his car. He opened the passenger door. "You okay?" he asked. I exhaled, a shaky, weird laugh. "I think I might actually be," I said. We didn't go far. Just to his apartment 15 minutes away, where his wife had already set up the guest room just in case. Naomi arrived an hour later with my overnight bag she'd snuck out between dealing with relatives and fielding 1 million questions. "How's it going over there?" I asked, wrapped in one of Ethan's oversized hoodies. "Imagine a soap opera and a reality show had a baby," she said. "Your mom is mortified. His mom is defending him. Half the guests are praising you. The DJ kept playing upbeat songs because nobody told him what else to do." I groaned. "The caterer boxed up a bunch of food," she added. "I told them to send it to the women's shelter down the street if they could. Might as well have something good come out of it." I felt a lump in my throat. "Thank you," I said. "What are friends for?" she replied. "Also, your cousin Jenna wants to know if you're going to sell your dress. She said she'll lightly cleanse it of bad energy." I actually laughed. It felt weird. Good weird. My phone buzzed on the table. 12 missed calls from my mom. 7 from an unknown number that was probably Ryan using someone else's phone. I turned it off. For the first time in weeks, there was silence. The next few days were intense. My mom showed up at Ethan's place, demanding to talk. "You humiliated us," she said, eyes blazing. "Couldn't you have just canceled quietly?" "He humiliated me first," I said. "For months. In private. I tried to address it privately. He brushed me off. So I made it public. You could have worked through it," she insisted. "No relationship is perfect." "I don't want a perfect relationship," I said. "I want an honest one." He lied. Repeatedly. "That's not something you fix with counseling and cake." She shook her head, tearful. "You young people throw everything away so easily," she said. I looked at my dad, who'd been silent in the doorway. He met my eyes, sighed. "He chose his fantasy over her, Linda," he said quietly. "She chose herself back. I can't be mad at that." Mom glared at both of us, then left. Dad hugged me. "I wish I'd had your courage at your age," he whispered. Ryan tried to contact me dozens of times. Voicemails. "Rach, please, just hear me out. What happened at the wedding?" Deleted. "We can go to counseling. I'll block Lauren. Deleted. "You embarrassed me in front of my whole family. How could you?" Deleted. I didn't respond. Instead, I talked to a therapist. I cried. I raged. I questioned myself. Was I too harsh? I asked, did I overreact? Maybe I could have just quietly ended it. My therapist looked at me gently. "Would you rather be sitting here regretting that you made a scene," she asked, "or regretting that you married a man who saw you as plan B?" I didn't have to think long. "A scene," I said. "Every time." "Then you did what you needed to do," she said. Social media, of course, had its own version of events. Someone's cousin posted a vague status about when the bride cancels the wedding during the ceremony face popcorn. Another guest uploaded a blurry video of me stepping aside at the altar, captioned, "This wedding just turned into an episode of Love is Blind." People I barely knew texted me. Some were sympathetic. "Heard what happened. You're a legend." Some were judgmental. I would have died of shame. I could never do that in public. Here's the thing. For me, the real shame would have been standing there and saying I do to a man I knew didn't fully choose me. The public part was just logistics. We'd already rented the stage. Might as well use it. As for Lauren, we kept in touch. She sent me a long message the day after the non-wedding. "I'm so sorry you had to go through that, but I'm also weirdly proud of you. You gave both of us closure we didn't know we needed. Mark said he respects the hell out of you. If you ever want to grab coffee again, for fun this time, not plotting, I'm around until Friday." We met up once more before she flew back. This time we talked about everything but Ryan. Work. Hobbies. The weird way people treat women in their late 20s like their romantic choices are public property. "You know," she said as we parted, "if he ever tries to spin this like you were crazy, you've got at least 2 witnesses ready to tell the real story." "Good to know," I said. She smiled. "And for what it's worth," she added, "you looked gorgeous walking away." It's been almost a year since I gave his ex my place at the altar. I'm not going to pretend it was easy afterward. There were nights I lay awake replaying the scene, wondering if I'd ruined my chance at a normal life, if future partners would see me as the dramatic one. But then I think about alternative timelines. The one where I ignored the red flags, married him, and spent years wondering if every late night at the office was really a text chain with Lauren. The one where I called it off quietly, let him cry to his friends about his overly sensitive ex-fiancé, and never confronted him with what he'd done. I don't regret choosing the timeline where I walked away on my own terms, in front of everyone who needed to see the truth. Not because I enjoy drama, but because I finally realized something important. Women are trained to keep everything tidy. Our pain, our embarrassment, our breakups. We're told to handle it with grace, which usually means in private, where it won't make anyone uncomfortable. Meanwhile, men like Ryan get to create chaos in private and present a polished version of themselves in public. I decided, for once, to flip that script, to let the mess be seen where it was made. So yeah, my fiancé invited his ex to our wedding as his guest of honor. So I gave her my place at the altar. Not because I wanted him to have her, but because I wanted everyone, including her, to see exactly what he'd been doing. And then I walked away. Not from the altar. From a life where I was anyone's safe second choice.